So official hi hello to Doodle Crew, which always sounds funny to me after you've been hanging out with us for a little bit, but this makes it easier for Swan to edit. So that's how we start. But officially, welcome to season 3 of Doodle Crew. We made it. We did 40 whole episodes so far, which is kind of impressive, especially because season 2 was a little bit cursed and took us about 4 more months.
Yeah.
It was so cursed. We had technology issues, we had health issues, we had all of the things, but my goodness, we made it. Yeah, and honestly, the last episode of season 2 was Apocalypse Roulette, which was very fun. So we might need to bring that one back. So we'll bring back the end of the season, drawing different fun apocalypse matchups. But that's not what we're doing today. Today we are working against Trope. So this is actually cool because this was a suggestion given to us by one of our viewers and a friend of the show, a fellow artist. So I'm excited about this one. The way I pitched it to the Doodle Crew was, if any of you have seen the movie Tangled, which if you haven't, definitely go watch it because it's delightful. There is a scene in the pub where a whole bunch of very strong, muscular, brooding bad guys all talk about their various delicate hobbies. Some of them collect ceramic unicorns. Some of them like to flower arrange. And so, yes, all of them. So it's fun. And it is a fun thing in animation when you have a character that is presented one way visually and ends up completely breaking the trope and having different aspects to them. I also like this, and the original person who suggested this mentioned D&D specifically. So if you have, a barbarian who is normally your tank, but they end up being like a cleric or something like that. And it's just this fun working against what the expectations are. So that's our pitch for today. I have an idea for what I wanted to do, so I'm good. Jeff, do you need inspiration or are you ready?
I can figure something out. It's fine. Okay.
I believe in you. Oh, but also, hey, let's actually introduce you and tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Jeff Munn. I run Pocket Science Studios out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mostly do freelance illustration work and animation work. I can be found at, I have a Patreon page, patreon.com/pocket science, where I kind of update my comic, #parenting, very sporadically. And sometimes I do updates on a video game that I'm creating as well. But that's pretty much it. I can be found on Facebook because I'm old, and I kind of avoid Twitter as much as possible just because it became a cesspool, and I don't like the mental drag it gives me.
Yeah. Nope, I feel you. Which has always cracked me up because I tag you constantly on Twitter, and I was like, "This isn't for him. This is just for me."
I see it I see it once a month. Like I'll go in, I'm like, oh, I have like 12 things, and most of it is just like, in case you missed it. Then I'll have like one mention. I'll be like, oh, okay, cool.
That was Swan.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love your #parenting stuff. It consistently cracks me up. So yeah, if you're unfamiliar with me, I am a swan named Emily. That's me all across the internet. I also have a swannamedemily.com, which can send you to all of the various things. I run Doodle Crew. I run Sketching Shakespeare. I have my own Friday art stream that I do, and I'm also on a podcast called In Addition. So yeah, I do things all over the internet. If you ever want to throw out art prompts to us or anything like that, definitely drop a link either to me directly or, like I said, to Doodle Crew Draw. And yeah, or if you know artists who are interested in joining our fun art community, we have a fun artist-friendly Discord. I mean, human-friendly too, but it's mainly art. So if you want to come and listen to us talk about all sorts of things art, there's that. So yeah, I know how to do this. I remember. So I was thinking, originally I had, as it usually happens, I had one specific idea I was going to go with, and then because I'm old, I was playing Pokemon Go and got inspired by a Pokemon, so we might be pulling that. But I'm not straying too far from my norm because I'm going to draw a cute little girl, so let's be real. This is who I am. But let me see if I can grab a picture. I like the and what I was going to use. Yeah. steal this picture real quick. Should I have had this ready? Absolutely. Did I have time to do it? Totally did. Didn't do it, though. Yeah. Okay, cool. Just got a message from Joey. He's going to get his stuff together, and then he should be joining us shortly. Mm-hmm. But bonus for all of you viewers, for this particular collection of Doodle Crew artists, I was not worried about Jeff or Joey because they are some of the fastest artists I have ever met. So even giving them a handicap of the head start, they will still get more done than I will. So I wasn't worried about you. Okay. There we go. All right. So this is the Pokemon I was thinking of. So the regular one is called Mawile, I think. Forgive me if I'm not saying that right. I don't know how any of the Pokemon are pronounced, but this is the Mega version. And so it's this very cutesy character that ends up having, these two big demon things come out of it. So I like that as a, if I were a horror movie person, this would be my tiny little innocent looking schoolgirl who is actually a demon-esque thing. I don't like horror, so we're going Pokemon with it. I know. I'm very good at this, Mayor Squish. Consummate professional. Yeah. I'll ask you, Jeff, when it comes to character creation, do you think it is easier to let me rephrase how I want to ask this. How do you prefer to hide the characteristics of a character? Do you like it to be a hidden in their personality when it comes out, or do you like the more physical representations of it?
I usually I think I usually just go ahead and design it right on the character, so that the character usually looks. I don't usually go against Trope very much, so I don't know if it's just the way that I was taught. I guess you should have some kind of tell at least somewhere, and it's not necessarily quote unquote the right way to do it, but it's just the way that I kind of usually do it.
Yeah.
But sometimes, it's definitely fun to work against that. So this will be a fun little. It'll be a little challenging for me, which is fun. Always fun to have a challenge. So
yeah, I feel like I don't get to challenge you very often, so I'm very excited about it. Yeah, Mr. Abstracto, I'm very much in line with Jeff on because I am not a writer, so much of my art side of creation is me imagining and creating the visual aspects of the character. It is visual for me first, and then kind of figure it out. But also, my storytelling is usually sequential illustration, so comic stuff. So there's not a verbal component to it. There is text, but I think it's a little bit harder for me to have a surprise in that aspect if you don't already see it visually in the character. So oh, very cool. That's awesome. I make comics and stickers, so you're in good company.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Which I'm completely obsessed with now. I love making stickers. It's amazing. Comic Crew! Yeah! Yeah, that's the because I have, I'll say, I guess enough other things going on. Personal deadlines are sometimes really hard for me, but it's why I like sketching Shakespeare so much, because once a month, my co-host Steph brings me a piece of Shakespeare prose, and for the length of the stream, it is my goal to illustrate an entire comic page based on that prose. So it forces me to get my storytelling in and get those creative juices going, which sometimes I'm not always good at doing on my own. Because self-regulation can be tricky. Thank you, Spiced. Yeah, it's super fun. So I will admit, I am not a Shakespeare person at all. I read it in high school very poorly, and I've seen some of the movies, but my knowledge of it is very limited, which is cool because the co-host is incredibly knowledgeable. So not only does she bring me a fun piece, she also explains it to me and reads it to me, which is amazing. But we get to have conversations about the evolution of people adapting Shakespeare's work and the ways that he is problematic in current times because he's 400 years old, and all of these things where you can kind of adapt and change it to make it work currently, but also the lasting power of this kind of pop, easy to digest media. So it's fun. So being back in Pittsburgh always makes me reminisce about college and whatnot. But I was thinking recently, especially as I've been teaching the comic class, while it was buried in amongst a lot of pain and heartbreak, there was a great lesson that we did, and I couldn't tell you when in the course of the animation curriculum it was, but it was talking about character silhouettes. Which again, Jeff, I've always been super impressed with your ability to have these dynamic silhouettes to your character, and I think that was one of the more helpful design guides that I got, because I liked my character creation, but I don't think I was always picking either the most dynamic pose or making an interesting and immediately recognizable silhouette. So it's one where, especially this challenge, part of it is I want the hidden part of the trope to be all in silhouette behind her, so it is a little bit more subtle, but it still pulls your eye. So.
Yeah, I can't. I try to think back, since it's been literally forever since I was in since I did my first stint at the Art Institute. So that's when I had most of my animation classes, most of my design classes and stuff. And I really don't think at that time we had a great faculty there to really kind of teach you that kind of design stuff. I had a life drawing class, obviously, and I had an animal biology class, a animal life drawing class. But
Ooh.
I can't think of a design class that I took that was how to design cartoons and stuff. There was no here's how you should. And that's the really nice thing is I'm gonna be teaching that this fall at Point Park. I'll be teaching fundamentals of animation, and I'll be teaching fundamentals of design for animation, which
I love that.
Yeah, so that's that. I'm super excited about it. Just to be able to be help the students kind of find their voice. And it's still early on to quote unquote have your style or your voice, but that's something that I really kind of struggled with a lot when I was in college the first time. And when I went back to get my bachelor's, that's kind of where I found that I could do things a certain way, and that's the way that worked best for me and the way I liked it best. So I kind of want to help them out. I did a little bit of that this past semester because I wanted to show them that there's different ways to animate things. There's different animation styles, and it's more than just art. It's not just art style, it's animation style.
Yeah.
So I did a whole class about all the different animation styles and stuff, and they were kind of really. I was like, yeah, there's not just one way to animate things, and that's why I'm watching you guys really kind of develop your animation voice right now, and they were just kind of blown away by that, and I was like, okay, good, I got through to some of them.
Well, and I know, and I forget when this came up recently, but it was talking about, I think it was on the podcast, and it was, there are things that I think are such duh things that I feel silly saying sometimes, but I know that 18-year-old me needed to have those duh things said to me because I had never thought that thought before. Like, if you told me that, you know, you were going to get something that looked like Adventure Time to come out and that was a way you could animate, my little Disney anime brain would have been like, what?
Yeah, no, exactly.
You can do that? So I think it is, I would so much rather have all of my students be like, duh, Miss Emily, we know, than not say it and have someone have to go through 5 more years of figuring it out. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And like I one of the classes that I taught was like strictly a rigging class. Like I had to teach how to rig in Toon Boom. And like my other class that was it Classical Animation 1 was just basically it's more of the fundamentals kind of built together. Like we go from 12 principles to the 21 fundamentals.
Ooh,
so like we build onto them. Like we start off real slow, like we do obviously, like the very first assignment they do is another ball bounce, and they've done that already in fundamentals. But we're like, okay, so this one we're just concentrating on squash and stretch, and then in timing and all this other stuff, and then we just build out from there. And like their last project is literally 20 seconds of animation, and they have like 17 different things to pick from. So they've built on all this stuff. And like I told them, I was like, next time I teach it won't be until this next spring semester, but I'll be teaching, I'll be teaching classical 2 again. And I was like, and that's all rigging. And then one kid came up to me, he was like, I'm so glad you talked about rigging because I can't wait to get to that part. And I'm like, good, because that's where everything kind of clicked for me as an animator too. So it's like having them like excited about some of the stuff is really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, side note, hello, Joey. Welcome.
Joey, I'm here now.
Yay! We made it. The gang's all here.
Yay.
Yeah. Hey, quick, tell everybody where they can find you and who you are.
You can find me everywhere on the internet at Slooty Mage. I am Joey. I am a freelance illustrator and artist. And you can find me on my podcast, Older and Dumber, or playing games anywhere. Just hit me up. My gamer tag's the same as my app.
Sweet. Happy to have you. Yeah, you're on what, episode 6 now of your new show?
Public episode 6 drops this week, I think. So yeah.
Sweet.
And then
That's
Patreon's a week ahead. So
awesome.
Got our 7th episode going up for the patrons, and 6th episode goes live for everybody wherever you listen to podcasts.
All the normies.
It's just me and voice of Hunter Taylor. He's voice actor. And then our other buddy Carter, and we just shoot the shit, talk life, usually bring some kind of topic that we don't know much about and yell at each other about it.
Excellent. I like it. So for your work against Trope, what is your plan for today?
I'm going to do tech support Sadako.
Oh, I love it. I'm sorry, that one got me. Oh, that's super fun. I like it. So we were getting into some of the cool classes that Jeff is going to teach coming up and has been teaching animation-wise. And, getting into developing character design and all of that fun stuff. And oh my God, I'm loving this character already. So cute.
You said you're teaching at Point Park now?
I am, yeah. I was an adjunct this past spring. And then starting in the fall, I'm going to be the artist in residence, which means I'm full-time. Basically, I'm just teaching 4 classes and being full-time artist.
Yeah,
in residence there, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
awesome. I am so excited for you. Also, when I was in Pittsburgh this past weekend, we walked down and around Point Park, and it's so much cooler than it was before.
Yes, it is.
I was like, dang, guys,
it's a lot different. Yeah,
but also, honest to God, the whole city is different. Like, They took me to Market Square, which is totally different. Like there's a whole downtown cultural district now, and I'm like, what happened to Pittsburgh? None of this was here.
It had been, before I went down this past winter, like it'd probably been a couple years since I'd been down there, because there's just no reason for me to go downtown.
Exactly.
And I was just like, okay, this is different. Like there's a lot of things that are different here. But the parking, but it's funny because the parking garage that I parked in, which is right across the street from Point Park's main building, is the exact same as it was 25 years ago. Because when I first started at the Art Institute, I lived in Point Park for the first like 9 months. And so my buddy came down from Elmira to visit, and because I didn't fill out the proper paperwork, they said that he couldn't stay in the building. So they kicked us out. You know, a couple of 18-year-old kids, they kicked us out of the building that I lived in. And well, basically they kicked him out, but I wasn't going to have him go on his own.
Right.
So
you're not a jerk.
So we just went across the street, and we literally spent the night in his car in that parking lot. So when I first got down there and I parked in the parking lot, I just looked around, I took a picture, and I sent it to him. I was like, does this look familiar to you? Because it is exactly the same rust-colored, stupid parking lot that it was 25 years ago.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it costs 3 times as much as it did, but, you know.
Right. It's crazy that it's developed so much down there. I wonder if it's because they're doing so many film projects and stuff there. I wonder if that's injecting more cash and causing it to develop more downtown. Because I know for a while everything was shooting down there. Like,
yeah.
Right around the time of the third Nolan Batman movie.
Batman.
There was
That's
a
what
ton
I
of
was thinking, yeah.
Ton of movies shot in that area. So if I wonder if that helped lead to sort of the development boom.
It kind of goes through like fits like that, like because like in the late 90s we had a lot of movies filmed down here too, and then there was nothing, and then again like around that time there was a bunch, and there's actually some that are filming closer to where I live, out towards Monroeville and stuff, like lately.
It was cracking me up that more things weren't filmed at the Century 3 Mall as it was falling apart. So I was like, you have literal wasteland right here if you want it.
It's closed, not completely closed now.
Yeah, I know for they didn't even have like the bookend stores, like all their big box stores had left when I was still there. So I think it was just like a comic shop and like a secondhand VHS shop. And
JCPenney's like held on to like the very end, but there was the comic shop, and there was this tiny little bookstore, and there was that basically you could buy VHS cassette tapes there at this other like secondhand shop, and you're like, and that was on the 3rd floor, so it's like you've got them all scattered throughout the mall, and you're just like, okay. And there was a carousel in the middle, a really nice 2-story carousel in the middle of the mall. And then just all of a sudden the mall was like, yeah, we're done.
No, I remember like Century 3 is like a really unique structure. It's sad that cleared out, because as far as malls go, it was really like they had like split levels almost, where they had like the different stairs and like the food.
Oh, it was very 70s. Yeah. I loved that design of that mall, and it is a shame that it is gone.
Well, and it's one of those where there was a point where you could catch it and keep it up, and that point passed, and then you just everything since there. I was like, the amount of money it would take to rehab this, no one's gonna do that. No one's gonna do that in that area. And it, like you said, it's heartbreaking because it's huge, and it's not like the whole area died. Like you drive down 5 minutes away, and there are like Miracle Mile type stuff. Like there's still stuff out there. It all moved away from the mall, and it just couldn't hold it. Oh, Pittsburgh.
You were down there for Three Rivers?
Yeah, so funny you mentioned it. So the mall we were talking about, the comic book shop, is New Dimension Comics, and they're the ones who run the Three Rivers Comic Con. So it was their show, which I had originally paid to be a part of in 2020. And I've just been rolling it over for the past 3 years. So I finally made it. Yeah.
How's the
good.
turnout for that?
Yeah.
It was good. It was good, not great. And it was tough because it was the same weekend as the Tri Rivers Arts Fest. It was Pride weekend. It was like 75 and gorgeous with low humidity.
Out. Yep.
There was a baseball game. There was something else. It was tough. It was tough because it was one of the most beautiful weekends I've ever had in Pittsburgh, because normally there's some crazy weather event that happens anytime I go to visit. So I didn't fault people for wanting to be out in it, but it definitely what has been happening at the most recently at all the shows I've been attending is my Saturdays are really rough and then my Sundays go great. So I don't know what's happening anymore.
Right.
So
how was it at the convention center? I know was this their first time down there, or?
I think so. Like I genuinely believe it had been planned to be there in 2020, but I don't think they've ever actually run the show there. I think it was always just, let's see where we're at in the world. It was great. I don't mean this in a bad way. It's going to sound harsh though. Like it felt so much more like a real convention.
Yeah.
Because the last few times when we would do it in this almost abandoned mall, and we were inside of an old department store. Like, it's a different feel in there. So like the air conditioning worked great. Like it was really well lit. There was a PA system. Like it felt like a much smaller, Baltimore or something like that. So I think if they can up their advertising a bit more so more people know about it, and maybe slide back into May where they're not competing with so many things.
Yeah.
Maybe get worse weather, but not be competing with people wanting to be outside. I think it could really be really good.
Yeah, because I remember they used to have it at Century 3 Mall in the old abandoned Stephen Barry's.
Yeah.
Which, if you're old enough to remember Stephen Barry's, that used to be a cheaper college type, if you're a college age type person, you could buy like $10 t-shirts, and they were like, pop culture t-shirts and stuff. But like, there was that store. That's where they had it, and then they moved it. They moved to the waterfront in an old Kaufman's building, and that was terrible that year. Like,
okay, that year I missed, because I was like, I thought it was on the waterfront at some point. Because I got totally confused when we were driving downtown towards the convention center. I'm like, oh, I was completely backwards as to where this was actually happening.
It was
so that makes
so
sense.
bad that year that I only did one day.
Dang.
I didn't come back my second day, and I don't know if that was the right thing to do, but I know that I wasn't seeing anybody. Like people, so there was like an inner ring basically where I was, and then like the whole outer ring was where people were actually walking, and like I didn't see people like even pass by for hours, and I was just like, except for people that were, had tables and booths near me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not coming back tomorrow. Plus that, I think the next day was Mother's Day too, so I was like, well, I could sit here at a table or I could go home and I could celebrate Mother's Day with my wife. So let's do that instead.
Yeah, I think you probably made the right call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I out of all the Pittsburgh shows, I used to really love the just straight up Pittsburgh Comic-Con.
Yep.
The few times I did that, I did gangbusters at that show, and it broke my heart that it just imploded. But I really like these guys who run this show. So like I like supporting them, and they care about comics, they care about artists, they care about the things that align with how I want to be in Artist Alley. So I like it, but it's definitely, I think we're still competing with Steel City, and we're still just trying to find the network of people. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Joey.
I was going to say, PCC got bought, right? Wizard World bought that.
Yeah.
And then it
Yes,
sort
they
of
did.
just died.
Yep.
Because
Well,
Wizard World can't run a show.
No, because
Exactly.
it's a show killer. But something had happened. Like, I think the people who ran it like embezzled from each other, or there was some like
the guy who ran it killed somebody.
oh, there you go.
Oh.
Yeah, they used to call it MurderCon because that's the guy who ran it allegedly killed his wife because I don't know, for money reasons, I'm sure. And then like he and his new wife were running the show, and then Wizard bought that show and took it downtown to the convention center and brought a bunch of wrestlers in instead of comic people, and that was 1 year. They had it 1 year.
Yep.
And that was it.
Yep.
So, and the other problem being that the Monroeville Convention Center changed from the big building it was in to this smaller building, and so, which was fine for the convention, I thought. But then that same building, the guy who runs Steel City Con, he has it in his contract that you can't have another comic book convention in that building within so many months of his, which is why he has 4 a year. So that
Just such a dick
he's
move.
the only guy who can have a comic convention there, and it's not even a comic convention anymore. It's a C-list actor convention, because every year you watch their banner of who they have come in, just is huge with all these tiny little heads on it from these people from these 80s TV shows to come, get their signatures or whatever. So like, it's not even a convention. It's not even a comic convention anymore.
Yeah.
I remember Steel City being, at least when I was going to school down there, which was the early aughts, like more of a toy show than anything.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it was the toy and collectibles show for a while. And the last time I did it, that was the fight. Like, you had the huge like vendor room of all the collectibles, and then you had the side like conference room of all the artists, and it just, you felt like you were the bad cousin. They're like, no, we invited them, but we don't really want them here.
Go sit at the kids table.
Yeah. And I was like, this is rough. Also, and I talked to someone who's still doing that show, I was like, I remember the Friday, it's like a 13-hour day, which is, no one needs that. Nobody makes money on a 13-hour day on a Friday. And I was like, and again, in the contract for it, like, if for some reason you don't do Friday or you leave early, they have they have the right to not let you back in on Saturday and ban you from doing the show. So you're, I stuck there for 13 hours and I made like $12.
Yeah.
Like, it is so demoralizing, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get back up and come back on Saturday. Yay!
Terrible.
It's rough. It is rough. So, yeah, I have not been able to bring myself to go back and do that show again. Especially, it was already weird before the world got extra weird. I don't have the brain space to tackle both of those things. So,
I think the most interesting thing is going to see how different shows come back, because we went down to MegaCon in May, Hunter and I, not the table, but just to go down to the show. Friday was like a normal show. It was busy. Like, we were pleasantly surprised to see the kind of crowd they had. They oversold Saturday so bad. You couldn't walk on the floor. There was so many people. People couldn't park. Like, there was people driving around for like 3 hours to park. It was insane. Like, you'd go over to the celebrity area and the lines just were from one end of the convention center to the other. No, that was nuts. Like, their Saturday was crazy oversold. And I think it was, they're trying to get back for what they had missed. But
right.
Like, the reviews coming out of that show are so negative now for that, because a lot of people just went on Saturday, right?
Right.
That's the biggest day. The most people are there. Like, if you're going to see a specific celebrity, they're probably only there Saturday. And their whole day. That was their whole day. They stood in that line in the celebrity area.
That sucks.
And that's one of the biggest shows there is. So it'll be interesting to see that compared to like what some of the smaller shows do, what some of the mid-sized shows do. But I think it's going to be weird for a year or two while they like readjust and get back into the swing of things.
I absolutely think so. And also, just from a strictly financial point, I think a lot of people have had a really bad couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so while they are excited for entertainment and they're excited for this experience, there is a monetary component to it. And I certainly understand that I'm going there to sell my stuff. That is a goal of the show, and that people are on limited budgets. So I absolutely think you're right. I think it's going to be easily, I think, 2 years before it gets back to anywhere close to what it was, if it ever goes back.
Yeah.
That's my curiosity, and if it is going to be what it was before ever again. But I know just for me, like this weekend, I wore my mask the whole time because, I mean, one, I have enough things going on that I can't afford to get sick right now.
Right.
And two, there was still a little bit of a comfort level in that for me where I'm just like, no, I kind of need this to feel safe doing this.
Yeah, definitely that Saturday was like, this is not good. People are going to not be well after this. Even if it's just con crud, the con crud is going to spread like wildfire in this environment.
Well, especially too, because we haven't had it in 2 years. So it's a new evolved con crud. It's stronger than it was before. Yeah, but not gonna lie, the fact that I came back from a show and didn't feel like garbage is incredible. And I was like, I would like this more, please. Yes, thank you. Yes. But on a very fun upside, I did get to talk to a lot of new people about Doodle Crew. And so hopefully get some new artist friends and maybe have some new guests, which would be dope.
Excite.
Yeah. New friends.
That is a part that's got me like excited to get back out. Is like, hey, I have like new stuff to promote.
Yeah.
It's not just selling the same prints I've been selling for 5 years. I'm like, oh, hey, like it's been 3 years. I have new things to talk about.
Yeah. Like all of my stickers are new. I haven't had any of those, especially at a Pittsburgh show. So I was like, oh, this is exciting. I like you said, it's like I don't have to just keep the same things that I don't want to sell anymore. I can show the new fancy stuff. Yeah, it was, I think the thing I was the most excited about and have the most fun with was getting to do commissions again. Now, I have the option of offering commissions when I'm not at shows, but like I said before, I can't always self-regulate myself to not take on too much work.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, no, if the deadline is the end of the show, then I have to get it done. But it was really fun. It was nice to be back and be doing that. You know, I got to do a couple of sketch covers. Like, the stuff I genuinely enjoy doing. So that was really, like, that felt really good. And I didn't have to try and mail it at the end.
That's the worst part.
I hate that part.
I am so bad at mailing things out.
Yeah, I get so stressed too because I just mailed a commission piece that I had taken at Ithacon, and I was like, I mean, I wrapped it and I, padded it and everything, but I'm just like, please let the post office just deliver this kindly to its destination. I would be so appreciative. Mayor Squish, yes, 1000%. I could so much use a personal assistant because if for nothing else, they could get on me about not updating my Patreon for a couple of weeks, which I have been doing. Yep. Oh, clicked it again. Yeah. Well, I know I talked about it on one of the other streams, but also had a little bit of a curveball thrown at me because I'm a dumb dodo head and I got bit by a bat at work. So,
what?
Yeah. Don't boop the snoot is what we've learned. Yeah. So,
oh no.
Yep.
Is it like a pet, or did you have to like get rabies shots?
I had to get rabies shots.
Yay.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So it was at the winery where I work. It was the morning. It was out in the area where customers were going to be. So he needed to be moved. And I tried to move him and he bit me through the bag I had put him in. So I got to then go to the emergency room and get 2 shots in my legs, 2 shots in my back, 1 shot in each arm, and then 5 shots in my finger where he bit me. Which I'll tell you, when it's your drawing hand and your index finger, that's the worst. So I highly don't recommend that. Also, after that first instance, I had to have 3 more rounds of shots where thankfully they were just like 1 in an arm. But yeah, 4 times altogether to get me immunized against rabies. Yay!
So now you can get bit by more bats, is
right,
what you're saying, right?
Yeah, so I went into work and I was like, I can bite people again.
I can do them all.
I'm afraid of nothing. Yeah, and I just kept loudly yelling bat at any chance I got. Bat! Yes. Yes, Vineyard Warrior reminded me that I am not Snow White and I should not try and make friends with all of the woodland creatures, even if I want to. But, yep. So, and then because it happened at work, I had to talk to Workman's Comp and I had to talk to the health department. And I'm just like, I hate all of this so much. So, yep.
But now you have such a good story to tell.
I do.
I got to buy bat at work.
Which everybody has that moment. They're like, wait, what? You got what?
What now? You're like, it wasn't even at the winery. It was while I was sitting in my house drawing.
So funny about that is before I moved into this house when I was still at the old apartment, I had on more than one occasion have bats get into my apartment. So and I lived in the country growing up. Bats in the house were not a crazy thing. It just, this happened to be the time that he bitted me. But
my neighbors consistently get bats every year in their house. And we just watch them like towards the end of summer, they pour out of the house. Like it's not just like 1 or 2 either. It's like a whole family. And we're like, look, you've got bats. They're like, I'm like, all right.
Yep.
We actually talked about rabies on the podcast last week.
Well, if you ever want to do a follow-up episode, you now have
you have an expert now.
You have an expert. Oh Yep. Yeah, the takeaway was mostly just, everyone's like, man, how did you feel? I was like, honestly, the bite itself was the least worst part of it all. Like,
right, because they got little baby teeth.
they got little baby teeth. Like, it's just a little poke. It barely, like, it stung for a moment, but then it was like, no, it was the 11 shots at the emergency room that were the bad part. And they kept scolding me.
Like, how dare you? I didn't want to get the bat.
And they're like, did you kill it and bring it? I'm like, no, I did not bring the bat with me an hour in the car to drive to the emergency room, but thank you. Yeah, ER department not thrilled with me. I'm sorry.
This is my first time.
I'm so sorry.
I'll see you next time.
I didn't know the protocol. Sorry. Yeah, Vineyard Bat was not happy, but he lived. I set him free, so he goes on to enjoy his bat
bite again
life.
another day.
Yes. Yeah. To maybe take out another one of my coworkers. Oh my goodness. Yep. Yeah.
Speaking of rabies, my neighbors have lost a Saint Bernard.
What?
Yep.
How do you lose a Saint Bernard?
They brought it home. It was a transplant. The people who had it couldn't take care of it, so my neighbors adopted it. Got it home, put it on the harness, took it out of the car, yanked the owner down in the driveway, took off, slipped the harness, took off. It's now running around the wilds around my house.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious.
They have a big trap set up in their backyard trying to get it to come in.
I can only imagine what a St. Bernard trap looks like. It's just a really big
It's like the
trap.
raptor cage from the beginning of Jurassic Park.
I was going to say, like a refrigerator cardboard box that's just propped up with a gigantic log. Oh my God.
And this dog wants nothing to do with it. So they've been baiting this trap for a couple of days. I came home from work the other night. Dog standing out there next to it, just, chilling. I whistled at it a couple times. It just walked off.
Flipping the middle paw. It's like, nah. Where did it transplant from? Do you know?
I don't know all the details. I just know that it was a rescue.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Now, was it still a puppy or is it more full grown?
10 months old, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, it's still very much in its younger years. But it's been quite an odyssey up here the last few days.
Oh my gosh. Now, do you think if they catch it, they'll actually keep it, or do you think they'll be like, no, we're done?
They might be done. Might be like, this was too much for us.
Yeah. I know, big dogs are no joke. Like, I like the cat. She's pretty chill. Do you remember when the first Beethoven movie came out and it was just like the 101 Dalmatians where all of a sudden everybody wanted to get the St. Bernards and you're just like, what are you doing?
Did you not watch the movie?
Yeah. I think you missed the point here, guys.
Oh. That movie stressed me out so much. She's like, oh gosh, she's ruining everything. But that was another one that had like it ended up being a trilogy, right, or something crazy like that. Like
At
they
the
kept
very
making
least,
them.
yeah.
I definitely remember Beethoven's Third being the title of the third movie.
That's right. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. See, I was a Homeward Bound girl. That was my like feel good dog movie, which not all feel good because boy, that ending scene will still make me cry. But and the railroad track scene and the woods scene.
And the whole
Spoiler
movie.
alert, it's an incredible journey.
It is incredible. Yeah, those like late 80s, early 90s movies just hit harder with the trauma.
No, they weren't afraid. Like you even look at like I remember when my niece was young and like we put in All Dogs Go to Heaven and we're
Oh,
like,
geez.
wait a minute. In order for these dogs to go to heaven, they gotta die.
Yeah.
And they do.
In
You're
really
like,
violent ways.
they drown.
Yeah,
In a
like
car.
being killed by another dog. Oh my
Old
god.
Don
got in with
Bluth.
the mob.
Yeah. No,
Bad.
so spoilers for anybody who's new. We did a Doodle Crew episode all about Down Bluth, and I picked All Dogs Go to Heaven, and I was rereading the synopsis of it. I'm like, this is insane. What? How did this get made? It's insanity. Yeah, you want to really send your kids into a spiral. I highly recommend that one.
They'll be fine. Toughen them up.
That's right.
Kids these days will never know about Charlie's Locket. Or it was a watch, right?
It's
They
a
had
pocket watch.
watches.
Yeah, but it opened up like a locket. So yeah. Yep. And Anne Marie. Yep. Who gets like pneumonia and almost dies. And has to live on the street and sleep in cars. I'm like, this is terrible.
He was rebelling big time against Disney at that point. He was just like, you know what, guys?
I see your happy endings and bright colors.
What these kids need is a little depression.
And weird sewer monster alligators. And oh gosh.
An alligator that eats the antagonist at the end, if I remember right.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's usually how it goes.
It's like Temple of Doom.
Which I used to say was my least favorite Indiana Jones movie, and then Crystal
they made
Skull
that
came
fourth
out.
one.
I was like, oh, okay.
Well, they made that one, and now they're making another because they don't know when to stop.
Yeah.
They're gonna subvert expectations though, and it's just gonna be Indy working in a museum.
He belongs in a museum.
He's a top man now.
It's just him dealing with workmen's complaints and the bureaucracy of the museum and acquiring things, like having to deal with the other places that are petitioning to get their artifacts back, and
He has to be like, no, it belongs in a museum.
I mean, again, I think they should follow the Star Wars method of clearly everyone is going to get real jazzed about galactic politics. Let's make it part of the movies, the main part. I don't see a downside to any of this.
Nope.
This could not go wrong.
It's too big to fail. Oh my gosh. So when your kiddos were growing up, Jeff, what were their cartoons that they really enjoyed? Because we've been talking about Don Bluth and
My oldest is 13, so they're still kind of into a lot of stuff. He's real into like the I think he's watching Infinity Train right now. Like that's like one of his big ones. Like
nice.
he likes Owl House and stuff like that. So like he's always been kind of into that. The other one, well, when he was young, it was all Thomas the Train. But the good ones, like the old toy ones, where they had the toys and the train
Yeah.
sets and stuff.
And
He
George
hated
Carlin.
it once they turned it into a CGI show. He was like, "No, I'm out."
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Good," because now these are terrible. But the other ones, they're not. They all watch YouTube now. Like, there's no like
Oh, that's why
Yeah.
my nephews are
TV
too.
shows
What are you
anymore.
watching?
They watch
It's-
like the youngest watches like friggin' other kids play with toys. I'm like, why don't you go play with toys?
Yeah, I was previously unfamiliar with like Ryan's World and all of
Yep.
that, and I got introduced. I was like, so we're just watching this family go to Legoland?
It's legit not even just about him anymore. Like when they first got started, it was all about Ryan, and then all of a sudden the parents were like, "I want in on this fame," and now it's just them. Like, look, we're on vacation on this cruise where we spent thousands of dollars on our cabin that you'll never ever see in your life. It's just like, okay, these people are terrible. Oh, Ryan's getting too old. We better have more kids. Now we have these twin girls, and now it's about them. Sorry, Ryan, you've aged out.
Gonna have to start looking for new representation.
We're recasting you, son.
Oh god. I struggle to believe that he is gonna grow up to be well adjusted. I feel like
Yeah, if you thought the child actors from our days were bad off, wait,
like
you see this YouTube generation of kids grow up.
it worries me. I'm just like, man. Oh, but Mayor Squish, that's a rabbit hole I want to dive right down into. When upon Mayor Squish's recommendation, some just I want to say like chat channels, but the ones that do like deep dives into certain aspects of YouTube history and stuff, which I find fascinating because even though I've been around the entire time that YouTube's been out, I did not watch a lot of YouTube for a very long time. And I missed the, like the makeup YouTubers revolution and like all of that coming to prominence. Like I am vaguely familiar with some of the names, but some of the people who I would say were the pillars of YouTube becoming what it is now, I'm like, I've never heard of this person. So it's an interesting thing to kind of look at it as a documentary type deep dive into it, because I'm just like, I know I was living this, but I was not living this.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I was still happily over on Tumblr with, just the nice right amount of porn, and I was content there. It's a happy little place. Yeah. R.I.P. to the porn tumblers. Which I feel like I have heard Tumblr is coming back a bit in popularity, which is weird to me. I don't know how I feel about that.
I just saw a thing where they said it had sold for like dirt cheap in like internet terms.
Only a couple billion.
Yeah, right. But somebody bought it.
I could see though. I mean, if you want to get away from Facebook, Instagram, the metaverse,
Oh God.
other than DeviantArt, there's not really another platform that has, I would say, the notoriety.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other platforms out there that are better, but Tumblr has a name that is known by a lot of people, so you don't have to get people on board with it.
Socials are the worst anyway, though. I remember I was trying to get this gig doing a cover for, I think it was Valiant. And they're like, what's your Tumblr? And I was like, well, I don't have a Tumblr, but I have all of these other socials and all of my stuff is on those. Yeah, you need a Tumblr. We can't look at it. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, your policy sucks.
Yeah, that seems so stupid. So also, I feel like scrolling through a Tumblr is not even the most efficient way to look at a portfolio.
Yeah, I was like, here's my actual portfolio site. And they're like, nah.
What is this, a URL? Get out of here.
Oh. Okay. I should have done this sooner, but I didn't want to. Let's see how bad it is when I flip it. Alright. It's not the worst. Oh, so much earlier, I think before you got here, Joey, Jeff and I were talking about just some of the, like, I brought up the fundamental stuff of a class from college, but as I was thinking about it, of other things that were just offhanded comments that were said to me, but still like stick really heavy in my brain. And one of them was, I think it had to do with your portfolio, but specifically if you were sending people to your portfolio site, like, do not make them click more. Like, the more times that they have to click to get to your stuff or to find your stuff, the less chance that they're going to stick around for it. So again, coming back to the, like, why would you want Tumblr to be?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm stuck on that now.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
That's always like them saying, and that's just like website 101 is the more people somebody has to click to get to something, the less likely they are to find it.
Yep.
But like at the same time, you're also told that you need to compartmentalize your portfolio. So like if you do a lot of different stuff, like my website is broken down into sequential art, graphic design, animation, and then the animation page is split up between design work and animation. So it's like you kind of have to, at certain points, you have to break everything down further. Right. But then they're just like, but don't do that, but do it. But don't do it, but make sure you do it.
But not this way.
Yeah.
But do it. Like, what? Yeah. Yeah, I think, again, it always comes back to, how important networking is, because you need You need the person who is going to your site to have a specific want to see your stuff.
Yep.
And not just stumbling upon it or cold calling them. Because I don't think there is a specific way to be successful in that, because I think it so much depends on the person, and we'll say the age of the person who is possibly hiring you, their tech savviness, like.
Yep.
Not for me personally, but for one of the places that I work for, I did a test once because I was struggling with their website, the website that we had, and like struggling to get people to sign up for my classes. And so I did a test, and to actually get to the point of like finally clicking register to register for my class, it was 18 clicks.
Oh man.
I'm like, no one is going to do this. And I tried it different ways. Like I tried it just going to classes, going to art, selecting this. I was like, or I tried searching for my name. So if they knew me, I'm just like, no, this is awful. I'm like, I could be pretty motivated, but even at that point, I'm calling it.
I am going to register for this. I swear.
Oh gosh. Mayor Squish says, don't even get me started on poor website design on school websites. Yeah. So my mom, not tech savvy at all, but totally fine with it, would always want to know like what plays the high schools were doing and stuff like that. Like trying to go, like I ended up on the school board website. I ended up on the high school's website. I ended up on their Facebook page. I'm like, just tell me what show you're doing and when you're doing it. Please, anything, go to calendar, go to all this stuff. Like it ended up being, I just did a basic Google search for it, and someone who was in the show made a Facebook post about it. And that's how I found it. I'm like, this is dumb. I hate
broken.
This. I hate this. I also remember in school when you would have to try and register for your classes, like there'd be the date and the time when they were all going to go live, and you have to, like, if you wanted a certain time, like hope that you were able to get onto the website and get registered for it before it sold out or before it glitched out on you. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, inevitably it would crash too because everybody be on at the same time.
Yep. Yeah, and there was no way that server was built to handle any sort of traffic like that. But also, again, I was like, aren't these what our student advisors are for?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Aren't they supposed to be doing this?
Yes.
Help me, please. Oh. Yeah, why would we predict high traffic? Who does that?
Remember, my student advisor would always wig out because I try to put all my classes in one day. Be like, yeah, just make them all on Wednesday. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, then I only have to go one day a week.
I only want to come in one day a week. Like, but you'll be here all day. I'm like, yes.
It's like, I'm going to be taking the bus anyways. Like, let's just do it. Well, I remember, I think we talked about this recently either on an episode or with some of my Doodle Crew friends, but the absolute ridiculous looks you'd get from your student advisor when you'd be like, hey, like, I see it's in the graphic design track, but I'd love to take typography. Like, could I get into that class? They're like, it's not in your track.
It's for graphic designers.
You're like, okay, but I feel like it might be helpful in animation.
From this.
Yeah, they're like, no, it's not in your track. I'm like, this seems backwards.
Yes. So I can't take what I want to take. I have to take what you want me to take.
Like, so seriously, the only classes I'm allowed to take are in this? He's like, well, no, you could take chemistry or physics. I'm like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, I need those.
great.
I was like, is it at least cartoon physics to where like I can figure out why Wile E. Coyote can stand off the edge of a cliff and not fall? Like, no, it's actual physics.
It's just regular standard physics. Okay. Thanks.
But I can't learn page design, right? Like I'm not allowed to take that class. Okay.
Why would you want to? I don't know. I was on the crack. What do you want from me?
I figured it was art related, and my bad.
Yeah.
Like, I just saw that it said free elective, so I just assumed.
You're right. My bad. I'm the dodo in this situation.
Yes, I'm silly. Not your system.
I was like, man, I can't imagine what you would have said if I came in and I was like, hey, I'd like to take a culinary class. Like, no, boy.
Oh, no, that's fine. You can take that.
Yeah, that might be helpful. What? Oh, God. Yep. And talking to people, at other colleges and stuff, and not all art majors, just other friends. They're like, yeah, I took like this intro to historic film or something like that. And I was like, wait, aren't you, like a science major or a music major? They're like, yeah, it was just an elective. And I'm like, I twitch.
Man, going to a school where electives work the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. I was once so young and stupid. Like, I appreciate the streamlined nature of our school to an extent, but
that wasn't for our benefit, though.
No.
That was for their benefit to just be like, this is how it goes.
Yep. We don't want you here longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to get you out the door so we can say our graduating class is such and such a size and everybody graduates. Oh, wait, we're out of business? Our bad.
Whoops.
JK. I meant to look up how many art institutes are actually still
two that I know of.
Okay. Did there used to be like 100 of them?
There were a lot, and now there's, I think, like 2.
It's like, I feel like it's like the Chicago one or something like that.
Yeah, I believe it is. That's one of the oldest ones anyway, but
yeah.
There's one that's all online too, and I can't remember which one it is, but the fact that they even exist is kind of stupid.
I remember when I went back and visited the new location before they had closed in Pittsburgh, and I was talking to one of my former instructors, and he was saying like our school size when I was there was like 5,000 students, and I think he was saying something like the full enrollment is something like 250 or something. Like, it was something unimaginable. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's a high school. That's one grade of a high school.
Yeah. I have so many thoughts on the Art Institute. It's just like there were so many good things about it, but like you wouldn't know unless you were in it.
Yeah.
And going there, but like looking from the outside, it's just a freaking mess.
Yep. It's one of those where like I should have been tipped off that before I even started school there, I went through like 3 to 4 different administration like people who handled my registration and stuff. But like every time I go to contact, like, oh, they're not with us anymore. Here's your new person. I'm like, okay.
They didn't even tell me, like, after I graduated from there the first time in '99, my counselor that was supposed to be, your quote unquote employment counselor or whatever that were supposed to help you get a job just disappeared, and they replaced them with somebody else. So they didn't say anything. The only reason I knew it was because my roommate was still going. He's like, "Oh no, this is the new so and so." So I was like, "Well, I'm going in to meet them because nobody's giving me any phone calls about anything."
Oh my gosh. Yeah, just like, again, obviously I was an art major, not a business major, but like even I know, I'm like, this is not how you run things.
No.
This is bad. Yeah, it was funny in catching up with Sarah and Randall from Doodle Crew, but also from college. We got to a point where we were just reminiscing about certain things, and it was like every time we get together, this is what we talk about. But also, I was like, it's because, like you said, Jeff, no one else understands. Like, if you were to explain this to people, they're like, "What?" You're like, "You had to be there."
Yeah.
Like, no, I know it doesn't make any sense. Don't worry, I know.
They're like your old war buddies.
Kind of, yeah. Ow, jeez. Just made some very interesting decisions on which layer I wanted to color on. None of them were the correct
The
decisions.
sketch layer. Damn it.
Oh no! It gets me every time. So much so that we even have a command for it. So maybe let's switch this. So, since you're interacting with students who I would say are similar to what we are and who we are, how have students changed in the, we're not going to name a number, in the years since we were in school?
Not too much. Like, I kind of got in there, and like, the first day really that I was teaching, I was like, yeah, these are my people. This is what I remember. But like, I don't know. I mean, obviously they're more I feel like they have, since they have more exposure to everything than we kind of did, like with, the internet obviously being a huge piece of that. they just kind of I feel like they have access to more knowledge than we did at that point, especially since I was teaching freshmen, and like they just kind of knew a lot. Like I had one freshman in my class, and they were just amazing animators. So I was just like, you don't need to be here. Like I wanted to tell her, I wanted to be like, go get a job. Like you can go get a job right now. Like you don't have to continue to spend money on college. Like you're good. But like, yeah, I feel like they have they're much more ready than I ever was at that age to do this.
Yeah.
I just think they're more career ready. I guess I would say that. Like for me, I always had this idea that the first 2 years of college is just your kind of screw around years. Like you're there to kind of find yourself and find out how the world kind of works and stuff like that. And like, but these people are just like, yeah, no, we're good to go. Like I feel like they just know more. They're more, ready for that. I think.
Yeah.
Some of them very much aren't. Some of them are still knuckleheads and don't get their work done, and don't understand why they're getting zeros on their things, even though the syllabus says, "Hey, you can't turn this in late at all, or you'll get a 0." They're like, "Well, what do you mean? I didn't turn it in, so I got a 0?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's how this works."
Not the craziest concept I've taught you this year.
Like, you miss a deadline at work. Guess what? You're fired. Like what?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's those kids still, but I really do feel like the ones that are gonna make it are the ones they're already like way closer to making it than I ever was when I was their age. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, but they're still stupid. They still do all nighters. And they wait till the last second. Like we have a system for them to turn in their work, and I create the folder for them the day I assign the assignment, and I'm like, it's due in a week. You can turn it in before that to get feedback, and then maybe you can make revisions. I get like 1 out of 13 will do that, and the rest of them are like, I was up till 3 a.m. last night finishing this, derp derp derp, and I'm like, I can hear you talking, right? Like I can hear you saying that to your friend in the back. There's only 13 people in this room, and I can hear you very well here. You're not speaking in secret right now. And then someone like the last day of class, like this one kid didn't show up, and I was like, does anybody know where David is? Because I know he wants to turn this in. They're like, well, he was in the lab at 4 a.m. Pretty sure he should be done with it. And like came waltzing in like 20 minutes late. He's like, so sorry, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, you got your stuff? He's like, yeah.
Oh my God.
I was like, dude, you are also a student athlete. And if you fail my class, then you're going to lose your scholarship. So I would kind of step it up a little bit. I had one, and this is what's different is the amount of, and I'm not saying that these students don't need this help, but like the amount, and I was talking to my other, fellow, teachers that have been there for longer. They're like, this year particularly seems like that we're getting more and more requests for like special ed stuff. Like so and so has this going on, so they need special treatment. So like, and we'll get it like halfway through the semester. Like it'll be like here's this one, they need to be able to turn their stuff in like a week later. You're like, but we're already halfway through the semester and they haven't turned anything in yet.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I had one, my one class only had 5 assignments throughout the 13 weeks or whatever that we did. And this girl kept coming up to me and she kept saying, I'm sorry. I know that, I didn't turn anything in, but there's a lot going on. And she had, she had one of these things where she was allowed extra time. And I'm like, listen, just, I've taken 2 assignments off your plate that you don't have to do because you're not going to be able to. Like it was like a month-long assignment for the 11-second club. And if you don't do it in that month, then like you kind of, that's it. Like you get a month to do it. And if you don't turn it in, then you don't turn it in. If she gets extra time to do it, then like it's going to eat up into the time that we're doing other stuff.
Right.
So I was like, you don't even have to do that assignment. Just do the first 2 assignments, the last 2 assignments. You don't have to do the biggest one in the middle. She's like, okay, really appreciate that. And at the end, I had 1 grade for her. And I was like, if you turn in, I'll give you until my grades are due Wednesday. I'll give you until Tuesday night to turn in your final. and so I can give you a grade on it. And she's like, okay, I'll do that. And then I emailed her 2 or 3 days before that, and then the day of it was due, I was like, if I don't get anything by midnight tonight, you're gonna get a 0 for that, and you're gonna fail the class. It's nothing, heard nothing. So I was like, okay, this is their grade. My grade is due. I have to turn this in.
Right.
So she had like a 28 in my class, like harsh. And then weeks later, I get an email from her counselor saying, oh, I saw that and it's to not just me, to 4 other teachers. So basically she failed all her classes. And it's like, could you give her an incomplete instead? And she'll make up the work. And I wrote back, I was like, I don't think it's in her best interest, because if she goes out into the real world and does this, then she's going to get fired. Like, she's not going to have a job.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no such thing as an incomplete out there.
Yeah. And so that's what we ended up doing. And then she finally turned in her assignment last week, which is a month and a half late.
Oh, my
gosh. And it's not done right. I was just like,
God.
This isn't done right. You need to fix it. And I have heard nothing. So I was like, yeah, well, this is what we do. Like, we're going to keep doing this to this girl, and she's going to get this big wake-up call when she gets out in the real world. And it's like, what do you mean I can't have an extra month to work on this shot? Like, well, because we're a production, and we need it done. Like, this is how fast we do things.
And because you are, in this world, you are so much a part of a pipeline that if you're a month behind, everything that falls after you is going to be at least a month behind.
Yeah. You bottleneck everything, and they can't have people doing that. So I don't know. Like, I tried to be, obviously I want to help people out as much as possible, but at this point, like, I really kind of feel like it needs to be said to this girl, hey, it's either you get a better work ethic or figure out what you need to do, or this is not the right career path for you.
Right.
Like, before it's too late.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that breaks my heart is it doesn't mean that this is never the right career path for you, but it means that right now this is not what you can handle. Doesn't mean you have to quit art. You don't have to quit enjoying it, but
heck, even cut it down to be a part-time student and do 2 classes a semester instead of 5. I had a dude that was doing 6 classes a semester. He's overloaded, and he's turning stuff in late. And I'm like, dude, you can't keep turning this stuff in late. He's like, so his final grade wasn't what he wanted it to be. And he goes, is there anything I can do to get that up to the next letter grade? And I was like, the fact that you got this grade is kind of a miracle. just kind of accept this and move along. Like, just like, oh. So, I mean, that's I think every teacher has that problem. I don't think it's exclusive to our sector or our profession, but I think it's something you're going to get everywhere, because I get high school students that I teach do the same thing. They're like, oh, I didn't have time to do it. I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those where the part of me that's like, no, more accessibility for more different learning styles, all of that, fully support it, but that needs to also be top-down institutional support, because it can't just be, hey, Professor Jeff, we need you to constantly be able to have your syllabus for the year for this class be flexible in case we need, like that's asking so much of you. And so without support there, how do you then actually best serve your students?
Yeah, and it's what is a complaint across the board too, because like the other guys, like the head of the department, he's like, these are coming in super late too. Like, how am I supposed to have adjusted already when I didn't know this was the case? Like, we're halfway through the semester, and I'm just now getting this learning plan for these people, and like I've already had 5 assignments or whatever. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of, it's frustrating. I mean, that's more of an administrative frustration, but
it still works its way down to you.
Yeah. And ultimately, we'll be the ones bending the most, because they'll do whatever they can to keep the students, which is, I get that too, but that's what I wish the Art Institute did better too, is we're more realistic with some of the students. Like, we're like, listen, this is not the path for you. Like, but since they were a for-profit school, then that wasn't like, that wasn't going to happen. But I really wish people would be more honest about that kind of stuff, and just be like, all industries will be better for it if someone is told, ahead of time, this might not be right.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to think about this more, or maybe you should think about a different path, because ultimately you're going to get out there and either you're not going to get into that career and you're going to have spent all this money on school and not have anything to really show for it, or maybe you should go somewhere else. Maybe you should do something else. Maybe this is, maybe you wanted to do this, or maybe this is something you were pushed into that people keep telling you, yeah, but maybe not.
Yeah.
So many people at the Art Institute could not draw at all, and some of those people could model like crazy, which is weird, which is, so that's the way they, obviously they were more into the 3D stuff, but there were people who couldn't do either one, and they just kept pushing them through. Like, how did you pass Angela Love's class if you can't hold a pencil? Like, how did you pass? Because I know that I was decent at drawing and I got C's in her class.
Oh yeah.
So like, whew,
yeah.
How did you get through that? They're like, oh, I took it again with somebody else. Like, makes sense.
Yeah. And I know if someone had been that brutally honest with me, it would have killed me at the time. Yeah. Yep. But, and I always wonder if I hadn't graduated when I did, if the entire animation industry hadn't collapsed when it did,
folded.
Would life have been different? But also, I look at my trajectory of graduating at 20 and it not being until maybe 26 where I actually really started to see huge growth in my art and my skill. And the person I was at the graduation, could I have gone to a company and been taught and probably sped up that learning and all that? Absolutely. But sure. I wasn't anything special coming out of school, and it was that just getting pushed along where, and I look back now, it's like, oh my gosh, these times where I understand what the teachers are trying to tell me, but I just don't have the brain to make my hands do it, to make it all make sense. And because you're just taking so many classes per quarter, trying to get through, and then taking a couple weeks off and going back and doing it again. And I'm just like, oh my God.
It was a grind. I just look back at it. That's the 2 years for my associates was just such a grind. And I know that I was burnt out by the end, especially when you're working on your reel, at least the way they did it back then. You had one class at the end, but you're also still taking a 3D class. You're also still taking I can't remember. I think I was taking it was all design classes at that point. I think I had finished up my general education classes, so those were done. So I'm pretty sure my last quarter was still all animation and design classes, except for the portfolio class, which what do you do? You're still learning this stuff, but you're also supposed to still be putting together this reel during this time,
and you're supposed to be creating art for the portfolation. Right. While you're still making art for all the other classes.
Right. And so that's why everybody was so dead at the end, because we're all doing we're all staying up for 2-3 nights straight, days straight to try and cram this reel in to get it done in time. And then you hand it in, and if there's something wrong with it, you have to go back and fix it. And back then render times were insane. And if you didn't have there were no real computer labs at the old institute. There was 2. So
it didn't get much better at the new one either.
Yeah.
Well, at least with the new one, they were pretty much all computers. Almost every place you went, you had something to go to. But the old one, we had a one render farm, which was only 3 computers. So if you needed you needed to put your thing to tape, you had to reserve one of those a week in advance.
Yeah.
It just got crazy. And, I look back and I'm just like, man, how did I do that at 19 years old, 20 years old? I was almost turning 21 when I graduated. So I was like, what in the world? What in the world is all that? It was just nuts.
Yep. Hi. Yeah. Well, and then, so we didn't even have I don't know that you could specifically reserve a computer lab, but you would have you'd put your coat over 4 computers to have it set up, but you just had to pray. If you left the room, pray that somebody didn't bump it or stop it or interrupt it, and then you'd have to do it all again.
Yep.
Oh God. Nope. We were just talking about that with the. I remember it was while I was putting my portfolio together, and I was still taking the like 3D Max 4, like the 3D 4 class, which I was never gonna do 3D animation in any way.
Yeah.
I wasn't good at any of it. And I'm like, why am I still taking 3D classes when I want to be character design and storyboarding and 2D specific? Why am I fighting with everything I've got to just try and pass this class just so that I can graduate? Like,
that's what I love about Point Park is we've separated the animation thing into 3. So like I'm the head of the 2D, and then there's a guy who does motion graphics, and there's a guy who does 3D. So like if you want to go through the 2D classes, that you're coming through my track. If you want to be more of a motion graphics person, which they graduate a lot of motion graphics people around here just because we have 4 professional sports teams here, and they all need like stuff like that in house. So they go through that track. Or if you wanted to do 3D, go through that track. Like it's just like, okay, like because we get obviously with 2D animation having this nice little boost that it's having right now, you can go work. You could work for yourself, A, or B, you could work for any number of the smaller studios around, or like you could go work for Bento Box or Titmouse or something like that. And that's why I came in to start teaching Harmony, because there's nobody that knew how to use Toon Boom really, besides using it as like pencil tests. So like we need somebody to teach these kids how to do rigging and how to use stuff, because that's how that's done when you get in the industry. Or hey, maybe I don't want to do 2D stuff. Maybe I want to do 3D stuff. So I'm going to go take this guy's track and do all the 3D stuff. Like I wish we had that, because I was like, there was no way I wanted to be a 3D animator. Like I wanted to always do 2D stuff, and like, would we get 2 maybe 3 classes of 2D stuff, and then they're like, everything's focused on 3D Max from here on out, and I'm like, oh, so I'm done with the stuff I wanted to do.
Hey, somehow I managed to mute myself.
I was gonna say I can see the mouth moving.
Yeah. And it was all the different aspects of 3D as well, because it was a texturing class, it was an environment class, it was a rigging class, and like, do I appreciate learning all of those things? Yeah, but it didn't serve me at all. And like you said, I pushed as hard as I could for any 2D class I could get, and the reason we did our pre-production and production project in 2D because the 2 people I was working with that's what we wanted to do. But had we not done that, we would have had 2 less classes in 2D, and I would have loved an additional storyboarding class or a character design class, like actual fundamentals of doing, heck, even if it was just rendering backgrounds that would then get turned into 3D. Like that should have been a class too.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've got a lot of big feelings about this today.
I mean, it's true though. I mean, like when you're passionate about what you want to do and all that good stuff, and you don't get the opportunities that should have been presented to you, it's frustrating. Because then you have to teach all the stuff to yourself afterwards.
And going back to something you said earlier, and something I see with a lot of my students is, well, I still think my classes are valuable, and having someone instruct you through something is great, even though I know for a lot of this, they could go on YouTube and find a tutorial for it. I do think part of my facilitating them is teaching them the language and teaching them how to find stuff. It is, there are so many resources out there. When you leave my class, you're not done. But, that I think is the one that heartbreaks me the most, because I was like, because it just wasn't there. I didn't know how to find stuff, and the stuff wasn't there like it is now. And it's like,
that's something that I love to tell them all the time. I'm like, you have these resources, and I come in every week with either a new Instagram for them to follow, a new YouTube channel for them to follow or check out. Like, guys, you should really be following like Toon Boom's animation YouTube channel. If you're not, then I don't know why you're here. Like, they post like how to do rigs. They post people like every week they do interviews with people in the industry about like do rig show and tell, where it's an hour long of these people just showing like, this is what my puppet rig can do and all this other stuff. And like, if you're not following this, you're crazy. And then there's other stuff that I tell them to follow. And always make sure that they, have those resources. And that's something that I talked about in my interview with them. I was like, I like to say, here's how things are done. Now you show me what you can do with it, or follow this stuff. And then I tell the kids too, I'm like, when I was learning how to do animation, I was taught on paper. And you know how hard it is to scrub through paper? Like we either had to do the flippy thing, which you can only do with 5 pieces of paper, or we had to shoot it, which took us a half an hour to do, and then watch it and go, oh, I need to rearrange some of this stuff. So let me go back and draw more and do this. I was like, with you guys, you draw a few frames and you do this. Scrubby, scrub, scrub, scrub. Oh, okay. I need to go back and do this. Scrubby, scrub. Like I just did an animation test for a studio like 2 days ago. They were like, okay, here's the stuff. Just do 5 seconds of animation with this character and send it in. And I'm like, okay. It took me like 40 minutes to do the test, because it was like, do this, scrub through it. It looks good. Do this, scrub through it. Looks good. Oh, I just need to change this a little bit, make the arc a little bit better on this one. Do this. Okay, I'm done. Oh, that was quick. Now I can turn it in. Like, really?
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. Oh, I like the static, Joey. Cool.
Thank you. It's the part I work the hardest on.
Gotta edit those textures, you bet. Well, and I appreciate you sharing all of that, Jeff, because I feel like even though I have been teaching, it's a very different capacity. And because I've now been out of school for so long, I was like, I don't know if what I have to offer is as relevant anymore. Like, I think, and for me, what I tell them is like, the techniques that I'm going to teach you, they're consistent. Solid drawing, this anatomy, form, exaggeration, all of this, that's going to serve you no matter what part you're doing. But some of the other stuff, I'm just like, I don't know. It's been, I graduated in 2007. Like, a lot has changed since then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always, there's always something to be said, regardless of like how long you've been in or anything like that. I mean, there's, like you said, there's stuff that will always be there, like always be important, like you said, like the fundamentals will always be the fundamentals. But it's just a new learn, and I kind of credit it to the fact that I'm always learning. Like I've never stopped going, okay, well, how is this done, and how did this, it's changed since I first learned how to do this, how's it done now, and stuff like that. So just being able to kind of relate on that level, because that's the way they learn, then you kind of have to learn how they learn.
I like that. Simultaneously, I don't miss pulling all-nighters, but I miss having the energy to pull all-nighters.
Yeah, I don't even know how that's done anymore.
I'm like, no, I wish I could just dig real deep for this thing, but I was like, it will mess me up so much. I can't.
I tried doing it a few years ago. Like I was like, oh, I'm just gonna pull an all-nighter for this and get this done. Nope, can't do it. 3 o'clock in the morning hits, and you're like, why am I awake? Why am I doing this?
What am I doing?
This isn't worth it. I'm out of here.
That last trip to Florida we took, we drove for the first time, drove straight through.
Oh my gosh.
We drove in shifts, and we were fine. Both of us were fine doing it until that trough of the morning from like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. It's so hard to stay awake.
It is bad.
I don't know what specific thing happens at that point, but it's just like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, when I was in my 20s, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was in my 20s. I worked as a youth counselor, and sometimes I had to do overnights, and like that is literally the worst time is like between like either around 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then till the end of shift at 7. Like that's like those hours are like the longest, worst hours of your life.
Well, and I know now, and I can see it with the, it used to always just be, well, just push through because you have to get it done. But I was like, no, I can see my work getting worse now. I was like, I have to stop. I have to rest my hand, my back, my shoulders, my eyes. Like, I have to walk away and get some fresh air from this because what I'm creating is not better. Like, just because I'm pushing hard through this isn't making it a good thing. I've done a bad thing.
And the thing is, it's probably always been like that, but we're just like older and wiser now, so we can see that it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to stop myself from using the, if I knew then, or if I knew, then what I know now to my students, because I know it doesn't mean anything. Like, you could have told me all of this and it would not have landed for me, but there's still part of me where I was just like, I try to find ways to give them information where it's not just like, don't do like this, even though I know you're going to, but it's like, here are some maybe other options that I can seed into your brain that hopefully it will grow into something sooner than it did for me. It can just save you a little bit of heartbreak. Then, dust my hands off, said, okay, I've done all I can do.
That's right.
Now you're on your own. Good luck.
I think I am done.
All right. I think, Joey, you look pretty close. Do we want to do...
Yeah, I'm pretty close. I'm just doing some shading and then...
Yeah. Do you want to do final wrap-up? I'm good. I'm just rearranging and pissed that I really like this one face better than the final face, but, that's just how this
That's how it goes. That's right.
It is. But I like her. I think overall, it came out with the feel that I wanted. So, but let's talk about Jeff first. I light on Jeff. Boom. Yeah.
Let me move let me zoom out a little bit so I can move my face out of the way. There we go. Boop.
Oh my gosh. The little dino guy I love. Also, it's giving me such Happy Tree Friends.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as I was doing that bunny. I was like, this is Happy Tree Friends.
This is savage. Which, again, I don't know if it was on TikTok or something where I saw a meme where people are talking about like Happy Tree Friends popping up as a suggestion for them. I was like, oh, this looks cute. And we're like, oh gosh, we've gotten
to my kids.
Gotten to the generation that doesn't know Happy Tree Friends.
Yeah.
No, I love it. This is super fun. He's got a lot of rage, which I like.
Yep.
So yeah, if people want to support you, follow you, do all the things, where can they find you?
If you want to support me, you can go to patreon.com/pocketscience, and for as little as $1, you can get #parenting at least a day early, and you can get updates on my video game that I'm creating that's based on my old webcomic, Kiosk Life in Neutral. It's going to be a arcade beat 'em up style stuff. So kind of slowly working on that, but hopefully I'll be able to get some more time to do that once the fall kicks in and I can leave one of my jobs and only have one.
I mean, that's the dream.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can find me just lurking on Instagram. It's Jeff Munn, and on Facebook sometimes, because again, I'm an old.
Very cool. Well, thank you for joining us. It's always fun to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I love it. All right, Joey, let's pull that up. Creepy lady.
Very nice.
Yet she looks so helpful.
There to take care of your TV problems.
Oh, I like it. Also, I'm loving this pose. It's hurting my brain, but I love it.
That is one of the great parts. I want to draw one of those. There are some great hand poses too, but I was on limited time, so
yeah. Yeah, I think that's been one big thing I've learned about Doodle Crew is I was like, okay, how many challenges do I want to throw at myself in this 2-hour block? Is it hands? Is it pose? What are we doing today? But no, I love it. And where can people find you, support you,
so
follow you?
You can find me everywhere on the internet or gaming at Slooty Mage. You can also listen to myself and at Voice of Hunter on the Older and Dumber podcast. And because we haven't updated that yet, let me just throw that up in the chat so people spell it right, because we're funny boys. Older and Dumber, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just hear us ramble about life.
Yay. Yeah, hey, like I said, offer still stands. If you want to follow up on rabies, I'm happy to help you out.
Yeah, we'll have to bring you on.
I was like, so how do you know each other? Oh, we've been art friends for years, but that's not what we're talking about. Yeah. All right. Here's my creepy little friend. My sweet little girl. Looking all cute and nice. I tried to pull colors from the Pokemon. Be lightly inspired by, but yeah. I don't know. I think I want to work on the demon things a bit more, but like I said, limited time. We were in one battle today, and it was not demons. So, yeah, that was fun. It was nice to also just do some different sketches, some things through costume design, because that's just I find that relaxing.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool, shadowy like that. If you put in like some really defined eyeballs or teeth,
yeah. Yep. I was wondering. I was like, do they look cooler when they're shadows? But I think you're right. I think the harder edge on that would help. So, yeah, I just can't be scared. I can't be scared of the monsters. Yeah. But if you want to see me draw mostly cute stuff, you can follow me across the internet at a swan named Emily, aswannamedemily.com. If you want to see more Doodle Crew, follow me on YouTube, where all of those episodes are. Like I also said, Sketching Shakespeare, In Addition podcast. All of my various things. Join me every Friday, most every Friday for my art stuff. Hit us up. Follow us across the internet at Doodle Crew Draw. And we are now officially into season 3. So we're going to have, 19 more episodes whenever we can make them happen. Yay. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.